this video, I want to talk about James Olsen, or Jimmy, from My Adventures with Superman, and his net worth, and how making money is easy, whereas keeping it is not. And I talked with a successful entrepreneur about this a couple days ago as well, where he retired at 40, if I remember correctly, with his first business, and now he's getting a consulting gig, or is considering doing a consulting gig, where he's going to be making $450 an hour with a guaranteed 3,000 hours, which, if you do the math, it's right around $1.3 million for this one consulting gig. And why a lot of the things that are holding you back in life, and that have held me back in life as well too, is self-limiting beliefs, and how it is a lot easier, as he said, to make the money, whereas maintaining it is not so easy. And you see that through the series with James, where he basically is like, yeah, money's no object to me. It's no problem. Like, I just spend it. I need to set an example. And he was able to do this because he sold Flamebird. And the thing that I've come to realize as well too, and why a lot of people that say win the lottery or get into the lottery end up going broke halfway through, same thing happens with NFL players or other individuals that have never really maintained a certain level of money. And there's this concept in consciousness where if you can't maintain this level of consciousness, or you didn't actually work towards this amount of wealth or income that you have, and you don't know how to manage your money, you're just going to be spending it willy-nilly. So basically, like in the beginning, in the first episode of My Adventures of Superman, Jimmy, he's just like, and we can talk about Mr. Beast as well too, but like, I mean, just because they have the same name as Jimmy, but it's just like, he has all this money and he spends it like nothing to give Valentine's Day cards to one another, because like he's just never had the understanding of like how money works or the process of money. So he's like, I'm just gonna spend this. I'm just gonna spend it. Oh, I'll just buy this. So like he buys Valentine's Day cards. He loses $100,000, which is crazy. I don't know how much he was actually spending on that. That seems like a little absurd amount. Then he ends up buying a plane, which costs another like $1 million. And it's like, okay, yeah, that's cool. And he's all excited. Like, it's awesome. It's wonderful. Like, and then in the next episode, he ends up buying a boat from Steve, the boat guy, who's like, hey, you have a boat guy? And he's like, yeah, I do, because he needed to save Superman. And this is the great part. Like, I mean, yeah, you have money, you have this, and it's to help other people. I can just see how Jimmy's going to be like later in the series, and this is a prediction that I have because it happens to countless people. And maybe it's happening to you right now because you don't have the understanding of how money works, the consciousness of money, the willingness to understand that, like, with this money, what Jimmy really needs to be doing is like having it work for him. Whereas like right now he's letting the money control him, but he needs to have the money start working for him, which is why you see in episode 2 where it's just like, now you have a team working for Flamebird, but eventually he's going to get to the point where he's just at minimum wage because he doesn't understand the concept of money. A lot of people, they can come in, as I was saying earlier in the beginning, can come into like winning the lottery where they win a couple billion or $1 million or something like that, but it's just like they aren't able to maintain that, and they just spend it like, oh, I'll just be able to make it more, and like it's just always going to be here. And as I was saying too, it's just like making money is the easy part. Maintaining it and keeping it is not so easy, because you see it dips and dips and dips and dips. And there's a reason why they have this in the series of My Adventures of Superman, is because they wanted to dictate and show that, like, hey, just because you had this one successful idea, it's like it doesn't mean that you're going to be able to maintain it over the long run, especially if you don't understand how money truly works, as I was saying. So it's like, yeah, you can have this great idea and this $1 million business idea where it does get you millions of dollars in the bank account, but like, how are you going to maintain that? Money's more of just a byproduct of the things that you yourself want to do, and these are things that I myself have been learning over the past couple of months or so. It's around, and I'm going to be watching this video here in a little bit later today, around Matt Gray, basically, and how he's making $13.8 million a year. Because it's all about self-limiting beliefs, and you overcome those self-limiting beliefs. But if you can't maintain the level of consciousness that requires to have this amount of money, then you're never going to be able to maintain it, as you see happening through this series. And Jimmy, he's using it in the right way. Don't get me wrong. Like, he's helping his friends get to Antarctica to figure out like the vision that Clark had in episode 1. He's helping save his friends as well too, and helping Steve fulfill his dreams. So like, he's using money in the right ways. I just can see how Jimmy's going to be very upset when he goes to zero in some way, shape, or form. But it's also like the money was never the objective in the first place. Like, he just enjoyed and loved making the content, and the money was just a byproduct of what he ended up doing. I found this out from when I was doing sales as well too. Is like, the money was just a byproduct of me just loving talking with people and interacting with people and solving people's problems, which hopefully I'm doing in these videos. And if you aren't subscribed already, why not? Click the button, completely free. It doesn't take anything away from you. I just loved solving the problems. I just loved helping people out. So like, the money would just constantly flow to me. Whereas like, when I don't have that focus, it's just like the money just disappears and dissipates, and like just evaporates into the whole world. But like being able to solve these problems, because that's what Jimmy did when he was able to promote Flamebird and be able to build his content around Superman and showing that, hey, Superman's actually a good guy. Then the Daily Planet ends up buying the thing because he was providing information and value to other people and was actually serving them in a significant way, which in turn was helping him grow his audience and in turn was helping inspire other people or transform other people in ways that he never really actually got to see because he never had those one-on-one connections with one another. And it's why I personally do like viewer interviews on this channel, on the other channel, because it's like I want to hear your guys' story. I want to hear what you have going on in your life. I want to understand like your pain points, your struggles, what I can help out with, what you're maybe struggling with, and maybe help you just to like get your ideas out into the world, because I know there's a lot of people that don't truly listen to anybody nowadays. So like I want to help you out with that. But basically tying back into this concept of what I was telling you about, how like making money is easy. All you have to do is solve one problem. So like you can think of it this way, and this is kind of how I've visualized it as well. So like Jimmy, he is this guy right here. So like this is Jimmy, and he has little like flame bird. This is a bird with flames. So like that's a bird with flames. And what Jimmy does is he ends up helping all these other people. These are people, people understand like and give insights into, this is going to be Superman, that Superman is actually, he's a good guy. So like he's good. And this helped other people see that like an alien from outer space, I know not spelled right, but an alien from outer space can actually be somebody good, can be somebody that can help out like the betterment of humanity. And then Jimmy was rewarded for his acknowledgement of like, hey, just because Superman may seem like a bad guy to you, he's not truly a bad guy, and he's actually somebody that is going to help you out. And Jimmy was rewarded for that said task. The problem is, as I was saying at the beginning, and the problem that maybe you have with like maybe your minimum wage job or the job that you're in right now, you aren't using your skills and the necessary means to help you progress forward. I know this was something that I struggled with when I first started working at a pizza place. Like it was the first job, I was making $15 an hour or something like that. It might have been actually like 11. But like that was the very first thing that I ended up doing. But I had to go through 100 probably applications to be able to get that one job. And once I finally got the job, I ended up doing something that was more difficult, or I guess maybe not as understood in like creating wealth or getting income. Like I basically like I went on and I submitted my application to probably 50 places, which in reality, in hindsight, like I don't know why I didn't just go back to like doing businesses and door knocking and things like that. And I do now. It was because like my parents were like, hey, you need to go get a job. But I didn't understand that like I could have gone out and like done things on the internet, or I could have gone back to mowing lawns, which this will be a very crappy lawn mower. I could have gone back to like mowing lawns or something like that. Or I could have gone back to like say shoveling snow or something along those lines, where I could be making money by the service that I'm providing, because I just find that to be more enjoyable. But at the time, I had to go do the applications. I had to put in the hard work that was required for me to be able to achieve like a certain amount of wealth and income that I could have to be able to be in a position that I am in right now. However, the problem and downfall with Jimmy is he ends up just like spending his money like it's nothing. Whereas like for me, like I would just save 10% of my monthly income and I'd put that in a savings account, and then I'd invest 10% into like stocks, into like an S&P, and I would save that money over and over and over again, because that was how I was able to find like basically ways to increase my income so that I could be in a place like this. And then I was also reading books at the time to be able to increase my skills so that I could be able to maintain this level of consciousness, so that I could maintain like this type of money, so I could be helping out more people like Steve or Lois or Clark or all of my other friends. And that just made my life a whole lot easier. Tying back to the applications, the way that I was finally able to get my first job, and maybe you guys are in your place of trying to find a first job, or you're trying to understand like you just graduated from college and you're like, I don't know where to work, like I've never had a real job, my parents have always paid for things for me, so like how do I go about like getting that work? And all I can say is you're going to get a lot of no's. Like there's going to be a ton of rejections, or rejections, rejections. There's going to be a ton of those. You're also going to have to like think outside of the box. this is what I did. I ended up thinking outside of the box. So like when I submitted all these applications, I was like, why can I not get a job? Like I submitted it to like other fast food places, like other places that people just like go. Whereas like I've had family members where like they submit one application and they get the job like that. Whereas for me, I've had to kind of struggle a little bit more and get more creative. So the way that I found out that I could get like my first job was what I ended up doing was I printed off my resume, printed RESUM resume. And what I did was I brought it into like Pizza Hut or the location, whatever it was. And I was like, hey, can I talk with your manager? And they're like, yeah, of course. Like, what's the problem? And I was like, hey, I'm just looking for a job. Like, I just want to have some income. I'm a small little guy. Like, I've never had a job before. Like, and people won't seem to give me a chance. So like, I just wanted to come in and be like, hey, here's my application, introduce myself face to face to you. And if you want to give me a job, awesome. If not, like I completely understand and I'll go to the next place. But this was the changing factor for me, dude, was like me bringing this in to the physical location. And this is something that I plan on doing in other areas. And I feel like the same principle can also be applied to like you looking for jobs on LinkedIn and maybe you're getting like rejection after rejection after rejection, whatever it may be. I'm not entirely sure. But like think outside of the box. Think about like whatever role you're going towards. What is something that that person would find valuable? What is something that you can do to like stand out? So like here's this crowd of people basically. And this is where like the 99% of people are. They're in this little circle. And what you want to do and what I've done is like I get out of this circle and I come over here and I'm like, okay, well, what is the thing that everybody else is doing that like isn't working for them? And how can I do something different? Like if I can do something different, then it'll stand out for me. And this is what I did when I finally got my first job was I was finally able to like stand out amongst everybody else because everybody else was like, they were just doing an app, and then hoping for like somebody to reach out and be like, oh yeah, hey, yes, you got a yes. But it's like, that's not how it works. You have to go out and work, like go and do what everybody else isn't doing. And that's just the easier way or the way that I've found to be able to find success. And when I finally did this and I had a friend back in I guess it was high school at this point in time, I had a friend back in high school as well who wanted to figure out, like, who was also looking for a job. And I was like, hey, man, like, come work at the hut with me. Like, we can have a nice little time together. And he was like, yeah, that's awesome. And I was like, dude, so what you want to do is print off your application, and then come in, drop it off to the manager, and tell her, like, hey, I'm looking for a job. Can I get one here? And that's what she did because, like, at the time, like, I didn't know that they wanted to hire friends because somebody was like, hey, we don't want you hiring friends because then all you guys are going to do is, like, talk and, like, do all this other stuff. But, like, that's not me. Like, when I work, like, I work. When I play, like, I play. Like, you have to separate the two. But most people, like, they keep them one and the same, which I don't think is the right way to do it. I mean, it kind of depends on what industry and business you're in, but that was just something that I found out. Like, having that clear focus and that clear idea is the best way that I've been able to understand these types of things. So basically, you can also have all of this income. Like, you can have this money, but like, you have to understand that, like, you have to go through these different steps to be able to reach that said level of like success or whatever you're looking for in life, because your definition of success may be different from my definition of success, and so on and so forth. It's a matter of like understanding that like you have to go outside of the box and think and like understand that there's always going to be rejections. Like, I had to do 100 applicants before I got my first one. Same thing when I was doing sales. Like, I've reached out to 100 people, made 100 dials, and I think I closed like 1 to 2 deals or something like that in the first week, dude. Actually, it was more like the first few days. First few days were rough because I just didn't understand it. But then I like within my first month, the crazy part is like I sold $15,000. Like, I sold 15K of product without having any, like, I had some sales experience back in college where I did like 20K when I was like 18 or 19 or something like that. And I was able to make that money and I was able to maintain it. Like, it gave me the freedom that I wanted to do to be able to do the things that I wanted to. But like, from what I've been saying is like, money is just a byproduct of you wanting to do the things that you yourself want to do or have a vision of doing. My pen's all messed up sometimes. But it's a matter of like understanding that like you have these different processes and you can do this thing, but like you have to work hard to be able to get to that point. And why I was saying at the beginning, people that win the lottery end up going broke halfway through, people that are in certain situations or worldviews or don't understand like and have these self-limiting beliefs, like you're always going to go back to your main like vision of yourself. And why I highly recommend the book Psycho Cybernetics. I think I've talked about this a couple of times in other videos of mine that I have released. you have to understand that like you're only gonna go as far as you believe that you can go, because the stories that you tell yourself are the stories that are the most important. And why, like the video that I did around If and Coppering Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, highly recommend going and checking that out, because that video dives into these concepts as well. It's a matter of like just you have to delegate and use your resources in the ways that you can. And it's about serving these people and you being the one out here that's going to be helping these people also get out to the place to where you want to get to, so you can help other people. But the money's just the byproduct of the thing that you love doing. Jimmy, he just loves creating content. He just loved doing Flamebird, and he was rewarded handsomely for it, because he was able to use his level of consciousness to be able to increase his income. But it wasn't him increasing his income, it was him solving the problems of other people. And then he was able to get bought out by the Daily Planet, which is something that you yourself can do. And why like there is an abundance of wealth, there's an abundance of like resources out in the world, but like you have to be the one that physically goes out and gets it. Like nobody's going to do it for you, as I believe I was talking about on another video. Well, the next video I have coming up as well is around a Superman, or maybe it'll be another video 2 or 3 weeks from now, or 2 or 3 days from now, not entirely sure. But this is just something that I know has worked for me in the past, and it's something that if it's worked for me, I know it'll work for you. It's just think about outside the box, think about what other people aren't doing, because it's really quite simple to win. And I'll leave you with this, and then we'll wrap it up for today. I had an interview, or not an interview. There's a guy that wanted to get coffee, like virtual coffee with me the other day. And I had to miss our meeting on Monday because I thought I was going to be out. I thought I wasn't going to have service because I went on a nice little like car ride. It was like a 8-hour car ride. And then I drove out 4 hours, and then I drove back home for 4 hours. And I left at 7 and I got back at like 10 at night or so. And it was a great day. I loved it. And it showed me like, hey, you can actually do a lot more in a single day than you think you can. But like I had to cancel on him on the Monday because he had the meeting at 6:30, and I was like, I don't want a 6:28 a.m. or something like that. And I was like, typically my mornings are set up in a different way, and this is what this next video on my adventures of Superman is going to be addressing, is like your morning routine. So you'll want to make sure that you're subbed so that you don't miss that. But it's like in the morning, I didn't want to. Like I had to cancel on him, and then I was like, hey dude, like can we reschedule? And he's like, yeah, sure, like tomorrow same time. I was like, yeah, that's perfect. So I get on the following day, on Tuesday morning, hop on at 6:28, and I'm waiting like five minutes past. I'm like, dude, like if this guy can't even show up for his own meeting, like his own coffee, and he can't even like ping me on IG or something like that where we were DMing, like this is just, it's sad. I'm like, I'm giving you my time and you're over here like not even doing it. And when I was doing sales, sure, some of the prospects wouldn't show up to like meetings that I had, but like me as a salesperson, me as the person that's getting people together, like I always showed up on time. Like I was always the one that was there. So that's what I'm saying. Like it's really easy to win, to be number one. It's a matter of like taking that work and physically doing it at this point in time, because the barrier to entry I'm starting to see is very low, because very few people do want to work. And I ended up having to certain times when people would miss meetings, like I'd send them an email or something like that, like, hey, I just wanted to let you know, like we had this meeting scheduled on like Zoom or something like that, and you didn't show up, like was just wondering what happened. I'd at least reach out. But like the dude that missed our meeting the other day, he didn't end up reaching out to me on Instagram. I reached out to him and I was like, hey man, like what happened the other day? And he's like, oh, we were chasing this cat. I was like, dude, okay, sure, why not, whatever. Like you can say that, but like he didn't even reach out, he didn't even apologize, he didn't even try to reschedule. And I'm like, that's just interesting. So it really is kind of like, I guess I never really understood this, but like, if you just put in just a little bit more work, just a little bit, like it doesn't have to be a lot, it's just a little, like this much more work, because everybody else is doing this much work. So like, if you just do this much work right here, like you are guaranteed to win. And I don't know if you see that, but that kind of looks like a little person right there sitting on a little chair or something like that. But that's just something that I've come to realize. It's something that I know will help you out if you're wanting to increase your income. If you're not wanting to increase your income, you can apply these principles to other areas of your life, other aspects in some way, shape, or form, because I do know that it has helped me and it will help you. And just stay persistent, stay consistent, and just keep working, man. Like just show up, do the reps each and every single day, and you're bound to succeed in one way or another. So I'll leave you with this. If you want to get a job, or you're trying to find an income, or you're trying to find a different way to like change your certain situations or circumstances or whatever it may be, start thinking outside of the box. Like do things that maybe other people aren't doing. So instead of just like printing off your resume and then just like submitting it, maybe like try and find a way to call the person online. And you might be like, oh, nobody does that. But it's just like, exactly, nobody does that. And that's what's going to make you stand out and what's going to help you get the job or the sale or the close or the role or whatever it may be. Even if you don't meet all of, like, say, the regulations or the requirements on, let's say, LinkedIn or Indeed or ZipRecruiter or wherever you're looking for a job or whatever it may be, like, even if you don't reach all of those requirements, if you go above and beyond in the beginning, that person is going to be more likely to want to hire you. One, because you did things that nobody else had done beforehand. You decided to reach out for that role and be like, hey, I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to educate myself. I'm willing to do these things, because everybody just stops and thinks like, oh, once I submit the application, I'm golden. But that's not how it works. Like, you have to be persistent. You have to try different things. You have to follow up. You need to, especially if you truly want this thing, like, you have to believe that you deserve this as much as anybody else does, and then do the necessary steps to be able to get there. Once you do that, you're able to make it. It's what I was talking about with where Jimmy was telling Lex about, like, how you have to go out and pave your own path, which I highly recommend checking out that video as well. But yeah, it's a process of doing things that nobody else is willing to do, because very few people are wanting to work. And if you are willing to work just a little bit more, a little bit harder than everybody else, you're bound to succeed in one way or another. Perfect. I'm going to wrap it up there, and I'll chat with you guys in the next video. I don't know if you like these longer videos or shorter videos. Let me know in the comments or even on Discord or something like that. Happy to make adjustments as needed, since these videos are for you, and I want to help you provide and increase your income, increase your life, just change your overall perspective, and understand that, like, just because you have money, it's easy to make money. Maintaining it and keeping it is a whole different story, and having that level of consciousness and thinking outside of the box to be able to have those different types of aspects come into your reality is going to be the best thing for you, and it's going to bring you a lot of success, fulfillment, joy, happiness when you actually enjoy the work that you do and the people that you serve, because you do know that you are having an impact on the right people, and you're not focused on the money, you're just focused on the work, because the money is just a byproduct of what you yourself love doing. And the more you love doing it, the more money will come to you. As I was saying, that's what made me good at sales. That's what's made me good at these videos. That's what makes me good in other areas of my life, is I just love doing these things. And what I was talking about in the other day around that quadrant, go check it out. That will help you out a lot in being able to figure out, like, what you value, desire, shoulds, and your duties to the world at large. The more you do that, the better it will be off. And we'll wrap it up right there. So thanks for watching.